People, so I woke up and some interesting details came out about, I guess, Ichiro Oda coming out with some interesting plot points that have been changed at the last minute when it comes to One Piece. So this is going to be a quick discussion on some of those plot points that has been recently revealed that Oda doesn't plan everything out in detail, which I have mentioned many times that some things may have changed on the fly. So this is just an example of this. So I just decided to make a quick video about this, and I find it interesting for a couple of reasons. I'm going to go over these, but first off, obviously, my live reaction review of chapter 914 of One Piece are on the channel now, so check them out if you haven't already. So let's do this. So One Piece is a popular shonen series out there, and it's because the series creator Ichiro Oda seemingly has an endless well of ideas that flow together effortlessly. But it hilariously turns out that Oda really doesn't plan everything out in detail. Oda recently revealed some of the story bits he made up on the fly, and although they were planned in advance, each of these elements made a huge waves in the story of what regardless. Now, it's kind of interesting, if these plot points never happened, how would the series have played out? For instance, first off, Vivi being a princess of Alabasta, that was made at the last minute. Okay, we all remember what happened at Whiskey Peak. So, yeah, so Vivi was not meant to be a princess until the last minute. So Oda made that off on the fly. We know how that played itself out. And you gotta wonder how Vivi's relationship had have been with the Straw Hats, not just Luffy. Had she not been a princess? We know she was like a spy for like Brockworks. She was like a double agent kind of, like, because she was a princess of Alabasta, and if you remember, she went to the Straw Hats for help out. But it's kind of interesting what would have happened if Vivi had never been a princess, how the story would have flowed. Would an Alabasta arc really have happened? And we know how that was one of the best arcs in One Piece. They introduced not only. It's interesting how the series would have played itself out. Would Nico Robin have been a Straw Hat had they never have gone to Alabasta? So you gotta stop and wonder and think about this. If Oda made this at the last minute and didn't bother, how would this affect the series? So another one is, and this is a big one, Shanks appearing in Marineford. We know Shanks arrived in Marineford to stop the war. Nobody wanted to tangle with Shanks whatsoever. Hawkeye Mihawk said, no, I didn't sign up for this. So Whitebeard's one thing, Shanks is another. And we know he made it past his confrontation with Kaido and made it to Marineford. So this happened at the last minute, apparently, according to Oda. So that's interesting. So that was a big point of the series. Ace being Roger's son. He was big for the character development of, obviously, Fire-Fist Ace. But had that not have happened, how would that affect the series in general? Would Luffy have ever met Ace had he not been a Goldie Roger's son? Remember, the reason he was taken in by Garp, because Roger wanted Garp to look after Ace after he died. So that's interesting to me. So that's I guess that's a big point in the turning point of the series when it comes to Luffy meeting Ace and Sabo. So would that have ever happened? So Lucci being a villain, Rob Lucci being a villain. So that is interesting. So it kind of makes you wonder what would have happened if. And I'm assuming that goes to what happened in Water 7 with being a member of CP9. If that would have never happened, where would Lucci fall into the series of One Piece? Would he be as badass as he ended up turning out to be? So that's kind of interesting. Drum Rock Mountain looking like a cherry blossom. Doflamingo and Corazon having a blood relationship. That was made at the last minute. And I'm guessing that was when the Law kind of spilled the beans when he mentioned about Law being killed by Doflamingo killing Corazon and everything that went itself out. Had that not have happened, where would Law fit into the series? So, speaking of Law, Shishi appearing in the manga originally was not supposed to happen. It was just meant to be the Yonko and not the Shichibukai. So that, to me, the Seven Warlords not appearing in the series, that is massive. Considering when some of the fights we've seen in the series are instrumental when it comes to like some of the warlords. So just imagine if, now I'm not too sure if he's mentioned the Shichibukai system or the Shichibukai like that we got each of them introduced to. So That's interesting to me, and it would have gone with what that might end up happening anyway. The Shichibukai system may be abolished after the revelry. We don't know. So you gotta wonder what would happen if the likes of Mihawk, Kuma, Kuma for sure, because that was a big plot point, and there's something about Kuma later on. So Doflamingo, just imagine that Moria, these characters not appeared in the manga with Oda, and it was made at the last minute on the fly. What would have happened? So yeah, it really gets you it makes you think a little bit. So the Shichibukai not appearing in the manga, it was originally meant to be the Yonko. So that's interesting to me. That's a big one. The supernovas still surviving in the New World. Oda thought half of them would have dropped out by already. None of them have dropped out. In fact, some of them have lost pretty much their crew. I'm going on record to say Julie Barney has pretty much lost her crew. We haven't seen her. So yeah, each of the supernova are still alive and they're still in the New World. Oda didn't have that in mind. He made that up on the fly because I guess somehow how popular these characters would end up being, especially Law. And in fact, the next one is Law being an important character. Oda thought Kid would be an important character. In fact, it's the other way around. Law ended up being a much bigger character than Kid. That may change after Wano. We don't know. Kid's fucked up right now, so his status is unknown in Wano. Law being an important character. I think Oda kind of regretted that because Law, not only is he a popular supernova, but he's one of the most popular characters in the series. I think in the previous popularity poll after Dressrosa, Law took the number 2 spot. So yeah. So I don't think Oda had that in plan at all. He made it at the last minute because of how popular Law ended up being. So, and this comes to, like, Oda asks, this is not really a plot point of the series, but it's just what Oda does. Oda asks his editor what kind of predictions audience have. He wants to go beyond their expectations. So he asks the editors what they want to see, and if they want to go beyond what we're he asks the editors. To me, it's obvious that he goes through social media. He goes, at least the editors do, and then he gets the input from them. And that's what leads Oda to make certain changes. I got a big feeling that's why we had headed Katakuri. I think that's one of them. It doesn't say it yet. Editor was against an editor was against the idea of killing Ace in Marineford, but Oda decided to do it anyway. Can you imagine what would have happened if Ace survived? How that would have affected the story drastically? There'd have been no need for the time skip to have taken place. So can you imagine where the Straw Hats would be right now if it wasn't for Ace dying? Good or bad, I mean, pick your poison. It's not really a good thing that Ace died, but at the same time, it had such an impact in the series. Like, something like this was going to happen sooner or later. So an editor was against the idea, but Oda went with it. It goes to show you what kind of balls Oda has for playing. I mean, because it crushed a lot of people that loved Ace. So Oda already had planned that Kuma. This is a big one. So Oda already had planned that Kuma would break up the Straw Hats later when he was introduced. One major element should get fans' attention is quick decision to focus more attention on Trafalgar Law. Originally, Eustace Kid would be more important, but obviously things change along the way. This all goes to show, while Oda has a plan, he's not averse to changing certain story beats or elements to deliver a more entertaining story in the end. So if Oda never changed his mind at the last minute, how much that drastically would have affected the story and the franchise of One Piece, who knows? So maybe it wouldn't have been as long as we thought it would be. It's why he's one of the richest in the world in all of manga and anime. True to that, pretty much it, man. When it comes to like the last minute changes Oda's made with the plot points in the series. So let me know what you guys think down below. How much this would have affected certain characters and certain storylines, not to mention the Straw Hats in general, when it comes to the story of One Piece. I mean, good grief. Just to think that if Vivian had never been a princess of Alabasta, like Shanks had never arrived at Marineford when he did. Imagine if Ace had have taken the editor's advice and Ace would still be alive. instead of like sacrificing himself to save Luffy. How much like and Sabo would never have got the Mero no Mi. So keep that in mind too. So that is massive. So let me know what you guys think down below. I just need to get my thoughts on that. Waking up to this little bit of information, why it wasn't just a little bit, it's huge for the revelation of what we could have got if Oda hadn't changed his mind in the last minute. So thank God he did in some respects. So that's this up. Did you notice how there wasn't a single mention of Whole Cake Island? Although I got a funny feeling that has to be added to it. I mean, there's no way you could have predicted Katakuri was going to be predictable, as popular as a character as he was going to be. That's why I think Whole Cake Island was as long as it was. That's my opinion, but let me know what you guys think down below. That's it from me. Thanks so much for watching. Like this video if you did, /discussions. Subscribe channel for more One Piece. Catch you guys later. Bye.